Today, at the start of the Australia Day long weekend, I thought it would be good to talk about some recommended reading or rereading for the long weekend. I thought about this book earlier this year when the Financial Times ran an article on the 100th anniversary of the Paris Peace Conference following the First World War. That's the peace conference that ultimately led to the Treaty of Versailles, signed in June of that year. It was signed by the representatives of all the great powers, so Woodrow Wilson of the US, Lloyd George of the United Kingdom, and our own little digger, Billy Hughes, also signed the treaty. Many of you have probably already guessed which book I'm talking about. It is, of course, The Economic Consequences of the Peace by John Maynard Keynes. So Keynes, of course, was part of the British delegation to the Paris Peace Conference. He was attached to the British Treasury, but he resigned before the treaty was signed. And this book is his account of all of the problems with the treaty, the fact that he saw it as a Carthaginian peace. It was designed to punish Germany. It didn't give enough regard to Germany's actual capacity to pay without sending the population into starvation. Now, on the cover of this book is a great testimonial from the late great US economist John Kenneth Galbraith, who I think may have met Keynes on one or two occasions. It's the most important economic document relating to World War I and its aftermath. So that is absolutely true, and you can't really get a much better recommendation than that for a book. It's a book about an extremely important policy issue, and it analyses it with theoretical rigour and a great grasp of the underlying statistics and clear logical explanations of the key phenomenon and just lucid arguments. It's such an incredible book. And even 100 years after it was published toward the end of 1919, I think it still remains one of the best, if not the best, piece of economic policy analysis that's ever been written. It's quite extraordinary. I first came across this book when I was researching an assignment on the impact of the Treaty of Versailles, particularly whether it led to the rise of Hitler and the Nazi Party. This would have been about grade 9 or 10. I remember finding an old copy, it might have even been a first or second edition of it, in the Old Townsville Library on Flinders Street, and ever since I've just been in awe of what Keynes did in that book, and I've come back to it every now and then, and I've decided to reread it given that it is the 100th anniversary of the Paris Peace Conference and the Treaty of Versailles. This, of course, is not the edition I found in Townsville. This is one I picked up in in a second-hand bookstore in Canberra. You should be able to find second-hand copies of it at many second-hand bookstores, and you can also find the full text online if you Google it. So I can't recommend it highly enough. You'll learn so many amazing statistics. Keynes brilliantly marshals all this data on the current assets of Germany, what it could possibly liquidate or transfer to help meet the reparations bill. and then also what's its capacity to divert its output, its national income each year to be able to meet the demands of the Allies. So what Keynes was essentially describing is what modern economists refer to as in international economics as the transfer problem. And so the fact that the Germans did have to pay for the reparations in real resources. And so there was a real risk that these reparations could result in starvation for the population. Keynes brilliantly estimates that what the Allies were effectively demanding in the Treaty of Versailles amounted to, at the time, around $40 billion US. And as they say in those days, that was a lot of money. I mean, it still is today, obviously. If you converted it rather crudely using the United States CPI, which goes back to just before the war, you'd calculate that that's around $580 billion in today's dollars. Now, Keynes calculated that Germany's ability to pay at the time was only 1/4 of that, at around $10 billion US, or 145 billion in today's dollars. And so clearly that treaty was going to impose harsh circumstances upon Germany. I think it's fascinating for the wide range of data that he is able to assemble, and you learn so many amazing things, such as the fact that at the end of the war, the German Reichsbank, it held $577 million in gold. We learn about the number of ships that were lost, that Britain lost of its mercantile fleet. What do I have those figures here? 2,479 mercantile vessels with total gross tonnage of 7.76 million tonnes. And he applied a replacement cost per tonne of $200 to work out a total damage estimate in that regard. So just an absolutely extraordinary grasp of the data. As I said, I can't recommend this book highly enough. I think it would be a great thing for you to read or reread over this long weekend if you're at a loose end. So that's all I have to say. It's such an incredible book, and thanks for your time. Okay, bye.